This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
In Austin, I'm Quita Culpepper. With the potential for ice and snow this weekend, state leaders are mobilizing emergency crews throughout different parts of the state. Governor Greg Abbott issued disaster declarations for more than 130 counties. The governor says the northern two-thirds of the state, from the Panhandle to San Antonio, could be hit the hardest. So state agencies are pre-positioning crews in those areas to respond if necessary. Reporter Daniel Perot has more.
The goal is to make it through with no life lost.
Texas preparing for a stretch of freezing weather that state leaders say could lead to icy roads, power disruptions, and dangerous conditions for vulnerable Texans.
People would be making a mistake if they don't take it serious.
It's been nearly 5 years since a 2021 winter storm overwhelmed the power grid, leaving Texans without electricity for days and killing hundreds.
This storm is going to be more transient and is not going to be as long duration.
Since then, state leaders and grid operators have taken steps to improve reliability during extreme cold. ERCOT, which manages the grid, says we shouldn't see any issues this weekend.
The ERCOT grid has never been stronger, never been more prepared, and is fully capable of handling this winter storm.
Even though the state power grid is stronger, there could still be localized power outages if ice builds up on power lines or equipment, like what happened in 2023. Since then, state lawmakers passed House Bill 2555, which requires local providers to come up with resiliency plans that includes things like hardening distribution lines and vegetation management. So agencies like Austin Energy have redoubled their efforts on clearing tree branches and brush from power lines.
Oncor has done vegetation management on an additional 8,000 line miles above and beyond what they would have done absent that law.
Teams are being deployed across the state, ready to respond to crashes or help those stranded in freezing conditions. State leaders say they plan to use different strategies in different parts of the state because not everyone will see snow or ice.
We have the flexibility to respond to each type of situation to make sure that the local either residents or officials in those areas are going to have exactly what they need.
Governor Abbott says it is important to listen to local warnings, monitor the forecast, and stay off the roads if possible. City of Austin officials say preparations are underway to open shelters for those who need it. Meanwhile, local organizations are also stepping in to do their part. Here's reporter Brianna Perez.
The city of Austin gearing up for the winter blast slated to hit Central Texas this weekend.
We know it's difficult to be homeless and on the streets on any day. On these kind of days and these kind of evenings, it's dangerous to be on the streets and try and stay outside. And so we want to get people inside, provide a safe place for them to be warm.
Greg McCormack with the Homeless Strategy Office says shelters open when temperatures hit 35 degrees. With cold weather expected Friday, they'll open then and stay open through the weekend. He says recreation centers used as shelters typically fit about 125 people each. Still, he says more will open if needed.
When we've had something like this happen in the past, we've gotten up over 500, 600 folks in 6 or 7 rec centers activated. And so all of the departments are prepared. Everybody's pitching in, the community's pitching in, and we're feeling prepared.
One organization pitching in is the Trinity Center.
Beanies, gloves, hand warmers, different toiletries. This was made by the St. Francis School, who came in last week. 54 sixth graders helped build all of these for us, which was really great.
Since learning about the upcoming cold snap, operations coordinator Carter Lear says the nonprofit has been preparing.
We've gotten over 200 bags and backpacks and items that we're going to be giving out that are all cold weather, winter weather items, and they'll be gone by Friday morning, if not today. So.
Lear says getting early notice made all the difference. With constant foot traffic in and out of the center, they have been able to get the word out. He says everyone benefits when organizations work together.
So it's incredibly important, especially in these moments, and there are lots of different groups that are available to us to do that, and it's always important for us to come together and share our resources so that we're helping as many people as possible.
And Trinity Center says it is taking donations, including jackets and toiletries. The state's power grid operator, ERCOT, is placing the grid on a weather watch from Saturday through Tuesday as this weekend's cold front makes its way across Texas. ERCOT leaders say the grid conditions should be normal, but extreme temperatures could lead to higher electricity demand. And they say we may see localized power outages, so it's important to keep track of local weather conditions.
And if there are any power outages, they're likely based on local issues like trees in lines or lines that came down because of ice. And so they should call their local utility company to report any outages. But we expect the statewide electric grid to have plenty of supply to meet all the demand throughout this winter event.
Now, people are encouraged to monitor real-time conditions on ERCOT's website or sign up for alerts through the Texas Advisory and Notification System. TxDOT is pre-treating the roads around central Texas ahead of the potentially icy weather. We saw crews spraying a saltwater solution on US 290 in Manor. TxDOT officials want to remind drivers be careful of traveling on area roads, even if they've already been treated.
Conditions can change rapidly, even if roadways have been treated. Your safety is our #1 priority, and the safest place for you is off the roads this weekend.
The most dangerous places that get icy first are elevated bridges and overpasses. 2 more people are facing charges for a shooting that happened at a New Year's Eve party in Round Rock. Police say 2 juveniles are now charged with aggravated assault mass shooting. 5 teens were hurt in the shooting at the Platinum Event Center. All of them survived. Police won't release the names of the 2 new suspects because of their age, but one of them is from Austin and the other is from Bastrop. 20-year-old Javion Wright is already facing an aggravated assault mass shooting charge connected to the incident. The city of Kyle will soon have a new animal shelter. This week, Kyle City Council approved an agreement to partner with Hays County and the city of Buda on a new animal care facility. And this comes after the city of San Marcos announced their animal shelter will no longer be a regional animal shelter and take in animals from other cities. That'll happen by the end of this year. That left Kyle, Buda, and the county looking for a solution. Leaders with the city of Kyle say as historic growth continues in the area, the new facility will help them responsibly care for animals in the city. Construction is expected to start in the next fiscal year. And those are the headlines happening in Austin. I'm Quita Culpepper.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Izaguirre in Dallas, and here are your headlines from North Texas as we prepare for a winter storm. Leaders across DFW are urging people to stay home if possible, but cities are still working to clear local streets for anyone who absolutely has to get out. Scoop Jefferson spoke with officials in Tarrant County about their plans to keep residents safe.
After days of planning, it's go time for the public work crews in North Texas, and that includes
we're ready to roll whenever the weather gets here.
Shay Sumner's team in the city of Arlington.
We started Tuesday morning, getting all the shifts together, all the assignments.
Crews at Arlington's 2 public works facilities are already putting in hours ahead of the storm. This location loading up sand, focusing on most traveled roadways.
We have crews out applying salt brine application to our priority locations, bridge decks over I-20 and I-30 and Highway 360 and 287.
Brine, a saltwater solution, is sprayed on the roads to help stop ice from bonding to the pavement. Here at the Fort Worth Transportation and Public Works facility.
The motorists of Fort Worth are our top priority.
Operations Superintendent Cornelius White and his team working down a list of heavily traveled roadways too.
That entails preparing the brining solution using salt and water, getting those locations serviced up. We have a list of locations that we manage, bridges, hospitals.
And because the winter event extends several days, it's all hands on deck for work crews.
We will start 12-hour shifts tomorrow, starting at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
We'll be on 12-hour shifts beginning Friday all the way through possibly Monday.
Drivers are urged to give space to work trucks, treating the roads all weekend, but crews offering this advice to drivers.
Staying home, that's what we would suggest.
If you have to be out, be extremely careful.
That was Scoop Jefferson reporting. Both Governor Greg Abbott and ERCOT have stressed the grid will keep up this weekend and prevent power outages. Encore adds it's working around the clock to deal with downed power lines. But Southern Dallas County reporter Brittany Moncrief spoke to people who have additional concerns about outages.
In parts of Southern Dallas County,
because they're so old, because they're so exposed,
it's not the ifs.
They're just hanging in like bundles and like ropes.
But the wins.
You almost can't name them. There are so many problems with power outages.
Melody Townsell lives in the Cedars neighborhood of South Dallas.
They look like swag curtains, some of them.
She says because of the aging infrastructure, like the low-hanging power lines and new developments.
It's just a mix for disaster. In my building, we routinely have power surges, little brownouts, little outages, and they'll just, and when I say routinely, at least once a month.
So when you throw in a wintry weather mix like the one we're expecting in the coming days,
they're going to get coated with ice and something's going to pull down. I'm not worried about the grid holding. I'm worried about our grid holding, right?
But it's not just the Cedars. Here in Oak Cliff, it's a problem too.
The lines and stuff, and back there in the trees and stuff be, falling and freezing up.
This community says storms last year knocked power out for weeks. And just a few months ago, both power and water went out.
We have to kind of survive and help each other around here.
We reached out to City Councilman Maxie Johnson, who represents parts of Oak Cliff. He says he's been advocating for better infrastructure and reporting those low-hanging power lines to the city's administration. But in worst-case scenario for residents,
if the power outages go out, I would just like to see the city come and help our lower-end budget neighborhoods first, instead of going to our high-end neighborhoods first, right? And then making us suffer last.
Sitting just blocks from City Hall and police headquarters.
If you're going to tax me, provide the services. Make sure that we have the infrastructure.
Because for residents already bracing for an outage, the real questions are,
where do we fall on the priority scale of getting it fixed? When does that recognition turn into planning, turn into action?
In Southern Dallas County, I'm Brittany Moncrief.
The winter storms created empty shelves at the grocery store as people stock up on what they need to get through the cold snap. Richard Solomon shares how one major chain is trying to keep up with the rush.
As North Texas braces for a blast of winter weather this weekend.
This was the last package of these little things.
So do Rebecca Cotton and Chuck Osmond.
I just hope the grid stays up.
The roads are going to be icy, and no one in Texas knows how to drive on it.
The two live in North Richland Hills and made a quick stop to their nearest Kroger to prepare before the winter storm.
Usually it's an exaggeration and it doesn't happen, but then they're talking, if we're going to have 60-something hours of below freezing weather, then it is going to be cold.
Across DFW, the site is familiar. Long checkout lines and shelves starting to thin. This, for example, is a picture of shelves at a Tom Thumb in Dallas. And these pictures out of an H-E-B in Allen.
If you look around the store, lines at the cashiers, on a Thursday afternoon.
John Votava is the director of corporate affairs with Kroger. He says items like milk, bread, eggs, and lunch meat are in most demand at all locations. And while you may catch some shelves bare, they won't stay that way for long.
We've got trucks rolling out of our distribution center here in Keller and getting out to stores. We're trying to offload those trucks and get that product onto shelves as quickly as possible in the stores.
But while there is time, every beat, every item scanned is helping a family prepare for what's coming. In North Richland Hills, I'm Richard Solomon.
Despite the hassle, it's actually a blessing to have the money to buy what you need and to bring it home. Right now, a lot of families are struggling just to get by. And Brittany Costello shows us how nonprofits are mobilizing to fill that void.
We have everything you need to try and stay warm during cold weather.
The prep.
We have blankets, gloves.
Started months ago.
We have a need currently for warm winter shoes. Boots insulated like this.
At When We Love in Fort Worth.
We have to be ready for a maximum number of people. We don't know what that number is.
Executive Director Gary Wilkerson runs the winter weather emergency shelter for the city of Fort Worth.
The organization says on any given night, there's room for around 900 people at local shelters. When those fill up, they open up areas around the city. On the coldest day last year, they helped serve more than 140 people. They say this year they are prepared to serve more.
They are setting up overflow centers like these ahead of the winter storm.
Homelessness is up, family homelessness is up, and a lot of that is attributed to the economy and the lack of affordable housing.
Some, like Jasmine Kirkwood, who made the tough choice to leave her children with family.
They have somewhere to stay, suitable place, they got a roof over their head.
She is looking for clothes.
Yesterday was the coldest.
And preparing for it to get worse.
Where are you staying right now?
Right there. If I can sleep, I go to sleep.
People who live on the streets know how dangerous it can be. This man says he lost his partner.
It was cold. We were forced to sleep outside, and I woke up and she wasn't alive anymore.
Wilkerson says this mission is about saving lives.
We don't want people losing limbs and getting frostbite, illnesses like hypothermia, and we certainly don't want them dying outside.
In Fort Worth, I'm Brittany Costello.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
Bill Taylor here with Texas News Now weather. Every precipitation type will be in the Lone Star State. Want to show you exactly how one becomes the next. It all has to do with that freezing line, where that 32 degrees will be found, because we go from that warm air and rain into first freezing rain. That's when the surface is at 32 degrees and the precipitation falls the entire way as liquid, and then it hits a frozen surface and freezes on contact. It is the most dangerous of all forms of precipitation because it's instant ice. Now, what happens with sleet is that you've got it frozen, but then it refreezes. It comes down as liquid, hits that frozen layer, and then refreezes because we're at 32 just above the surface. And it's snow the whole way, when of course you have 32 degrees all the way in that column of air. But as I mentioned, the worst case scenario is the freezing rain. If you're on the roads and that becomes black ice because over black asphalt, you cannot see it. Make sure you're taking it slow, avoiding sudden braking, keeping a good driving distance, and both hands on the wheel. Remember the 4 Ps as we head into this weekend in your preparation: people, pets, plants, and pipes. Especially the first on the list, people. You know, nearly 500,000 Texans live with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. Their judgment's impaired. They cannot communicate as well with the discomfort that's heading in with this cold. So please make sure you're checking on anyone that you love living with Alzheimer's. All right, temperature-wise, we get this huge Arctic plunge, and then the upper level low comes in from the west, a very slow-moving storm. Cut off from the jet stream, it's going to mean a lot of snow and ice for several cities. Let's break down this futurecast and go hour by hour heading into Friday. So we'll go into the afternoon, where it looks like a pretty good batch of rain, even a few thunderstorms across north central Texas about the 3 to 4 p.m. hour Friday. Then as we get into Friday night, it starts to change over in Dallas-Fort Worth, and it stays liquid on the I-35 corridor. But we see some pretty strong thunderstorms developing near Austin at 9:30, and then into San Antonio overnight heading into Sunday morning. Notice up the I-35 corridor into DFW for the sleet, and then you can also see a lot of heavy rain and thunderstorms along the coast near Galveston and into Houston for Saturday morning. And notice we still see sleet falling in Dallas. And that's why, because temperatures are going to be so much colder in North Texas, we could see accumulations reaching ½ an inch to a full inch in some areas of DFW. And that is very dangerous, and that's going to lead to widespread power outages. And you notice now by 6 p.m., several counties in Texas are going to be at or below freezing, and that means we get the sleet, we get some freezing rain. Some of it stays liquid once we get to Highway 90 near Del Rio and farther south into the valley. In fact, deep South Texas really won't be seeing anything frozen except temperatures. They just won't see the precipitation change over. All right, so here we go. Again, still very good coverage through 2 a.m. Sunday, and that's why accumulations could get really dangerous up around Dallas-Fort Worth, but right down the I-35 corridor from Austin through San Antonio as we head into Sunday morning. And then everything by mid-morning should be pulling out. We hope to even get some sunshine in part of the state. That's going to be, again, Sunday for some, Monday for all. Look at this. We've got one more day of prep on Friday before the wheels come off. And you can see highs as cold as 29 Dallas on Saturday, just above freezing at Austin, only 16 for a high in Lubbock. And then as you get into Sunday, right at freezing for Austin, 24 the high at Dallas, just above freezing for Houston, 25 the high at Lubbock. 39 San Antonio, then you get some 40s as the sun comes out, even 51 at El Paso, but still 0 Celsius for a high at Lubbock on Monday. So some cold mornings to prepare for. This is Bill Taylor, Texas News Now weather.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Hello there, Mia Gradney here with a look at what's making headlines in Houston. Possible power outages coupled with the cold are key concerns for folks in Kashmere Gardens in Northeast Houston. If the power fails, the multi-service center's newly installed generator will be put to the test for the very first time. Katira Winfrey has more on the preparations.
The cold hasn't arrived yet, but Cedric Spears can feel it coming.
I'm trying to get prepared for it. You know, I got to bundle up.
He's hopeful because living through the cold, ice, and power outages of 2021 isn't something he wants to experience again. And chances are he won't have to. The city of Houston is opening up 12 warming centers, and they'll be open from Saturday through Tuesday morning.
All hands on deck. That means all warming centers will be open.
4 of them have generators. Kashmere Gardens is one of them. It was installed in September.
Oh, that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing because, you know, there's a lot of people going to be out of power and out of a lot of things, and you need this. Yeah. Everybody needs something like this where you can go to.
Mayor John Whitmire says early models show Houston won't be spared. All the city's generators will be on.
But we can't control the ice.
So far, this community has been spared the severe weather that would have tested it out, and this could be the moment. Several of the warming centers are doubling as voting locations.
We're going to all come together and talk about the impacts of not only the weather and how to keep our residents safe, but also how do we keep this election running.
The Houston Office of Emergency Management expects to see bone-chilling temperatures in the low 20s and teens.
I'm not saying this is going to be the winter storm of 21, but we should prepare like this is going to be the winter storm of 2021.
That was Katira Winfrey reporting. Homeowners across the Houston area and Southeast Texas are working hard to winterize their homes. Julissa Garza met up with a plumbing expert for a step-by-step instruction on how to prep homes ahead of the colder temps.
A lot of people wait until the night before a freeze to do anything, but plumbers say that can be too late. Here's what you need to know. With a winter storm watch and extreme cold possible this weekend, plumbers say the first place to start is outside your home.
If you have a hose that's connected to your hose spigot, you want to make sure to disconnect it because you don't want to leave it connected, because if it is dripping, that means it's collecting water. This is like an insulated bag that you can put over it and go ahead and tighten it down with the string. This is at your local hardware store.
And if stores are already picked over, Christian Lopez with John Moore Services says you can still get creative with items you may already have at home.
This is more of a DIY way. You can have a couple of towels, wrap it, but you want to get waterproof tape. Make sure to go ahead and wrap it with the towels and then get some waterproof tape or get a plastic bag too. You can get a garbage bag.
Another critical step, knowing how to shut off your water if a pipe does freeze or burst.
But you want to know where your water shutoff's at if you have any issues inside the house, like a water pipe bursting or something like that. Here is the water meter where you would shut it off at.
And with temperatures expected to drop this weekend, experts are urging folks to prep now.
You don't want to wait till the last minute because everything sells out. You don't want to go ahead and order it online because you're not going to get it in time. So be preventative. Think of it ahead of time so that you can go ahead and get it done.
Experts say the big takeaway is to start early, and don't forget about those outdoor pipes and faucets. Of course, you can head to khou.com for the latest when it comes to the forecast and more tips to help you prepare before the weather comes. Reporting in the Heights, Julissa Garza, KHOU 11 News.
The messaging from City of Houston and Harris County emergency officials is to stay home. But the reality is that's not always possible for everyone. Katira Winfrey back now. She spoke to AAA Texas and shares some ways to stay safe on the road.
Ideally, you would want to stay home when the weather takes a turn. And even if you have confidence in yourself, you have to factor in other drivers and black ice. That's the ice you cannot see.
The rubber doesn't always meet the road when it's covered in ice, and Southeast Texas is expected to see it in the coming days. So drivers are reminded to beware.
Slow down. You absolutely cannot drive like we normally do in Houston when it's, sunny and in the 70s outside.
Doug Shoup is the spokesperson for AAA Texas and says thousands of accidents are caused every year in wintry conditions. Even small amounts can be catastrophic.
So increase your following distances between your vehicle and other vehicles to 8 to 10 seconds. By allowing that extra distance, that gives you more time to stop.
For people who have to work or check on loved ones, staying home is impossible. So it's important to remember those hot spots for ice, bridges, overpasses, shaded areas, and rural roads.
Getting out of the skidding situation, you don't want to overcorrect because that could, cause you to lose control. You want to continue to stay calm, look and steer where you want that car to go.
When the weather takes a turn, jackknife tractor trailers are common. Shoup says since they don't have the ability to stop quickly, other drivers getting over and not giving them space can create problems.
Spoke to some truck drivers and they said a good rule of thumb is don't get over until you can see them fully in your rearview mirror.
Exactly. Yep, that's a good piece of advice.
And for the people new to Texas who may have come here from colder climates, you have to remember Texas doesn't treat the roads the same way they would in a Michigan or a Pennsylvania. So you're encouraged to drive as if you're on a non-treated road. Reporting in Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
Right now, there is a growing concern for Houston's homeless community with this weekend's extreme cold. Devon Rahming shows us how the Star of Hope is caring for vulnerable Houstonians.
Well, as many of us are in preparation mode ahead of this weekend's weather, so are several local nonprofit organizations that are loading up, gearing up to assist those unhoused in need. Star of Hope is preparing for an influx of individuals and families seeking shelter, warmth, and meals as freezing temperatures settle in. As Houston's oldest mission, serving those experiencing homelessness, the organization says winter storms can quickly become life-threatening without proper protection. Unfortunately, many of the people and families living on Houston streets will choose to stay on the streets and not go to a shelter for various reasons.
Sometimes folks don't like our rules. Sometimes they want a little bit more freedom than we can give in a 500-person community. That's maybe one of the reasons why folks don't come. People have their own needs. They have their own agency. They make their own choices.
Which is why organizations like Star of Hope will be out in the streets passing out supplies, everything from tents and ponchos to hats, gloves, jackets, and scarves. And to keep people safe, the city of Houston plans to open 12 warming shelters Saturday across the city. 4 of those shelters will have backup generators. City leaders also say they're working to get people experiencing homelessness off the streets and into those warming centers, with Metro helping provide transportation. Meanwhile, community members can drop off donations at Star of Hope's distribution center on Lamar Street or at the Women and Family Development Center on Reed Road. In Houston, Devon Rahming, KHOU 11 News.
Stay prepared, friends. And with that, that's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Mia Gradney.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. Many families are preparing for possible power outages by turning to generators, but while generators can be a lifeline during a storm, officials warn they can also be deadly if they're not used correctly. Here's Jamie Hazard.
With freezing temperatures and the threat of ice, generators are quickly selling out across East Texas.
Today we sold 8. We have 1 left.
Jason Blakeney is the owner of Blakeney Hardware. He said he has a few more generators coming, but the warehouse where he gets the generators from, empty.
What people have probably at any store is all they're going to be able to get.
But emergency officials say owning a generator comes with serious responsibility.
Generators can be a life-saving tool for your family in terms of heat, giving you some creature comforts inside the house, but it could also turn deadly.
The biggest danger? Carbon monoxide, especially when generators are used in garages or enclosed spaces.
So never use it in your garage. That carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless, and so you won't know it until you're already sick. Sick could be that you have a headache, that you feel nauseous, that you're flushed in the face.
That's a mistake Blakeney says he still sees far too often.
Making sure that the generator is ran away from the home. Get it at least 20 feet away, point that exhaust away from the house, use a good long extension cord to get it back into the home.
And connecting a generator directly to a home's electrical system can be deadly, not just for homeowners, but for utility crews. And if anyone inside the home begins to feel sick, officials say to act immediately. In Tyler, I'm Jamie Hazard.
From grocery stores to propane suppliers, people are stocking up on essentials ahead of potential impacts. CBS 19's Ayanna Aird shows us how businesses and customers are getting ready.
East Texans are heading to the grocery stores to prepare for the winter weather.
I just came to get a couple of days worth of food that I did not have to cook to last me through this blizzard, storm, ice, whatever we're going to have today or tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Here at Brookshire's, a lot of people are stocking up on essential items like bread, but don't panic. The store is fully stocked and keeping up with the increased foot traffic.
No empty holes out here.
We've been working tirelessly to make sure that our stores are receiving the proper amount of deliveries to be able to provide the household essentials to our communities.
If you're coming, you need to come now. That's my suggestion. Because tomorrow, we might not be able to get anything in the store or anything out of the store because we might have something on the ground by tomorrow evening. Because Texas is bipolar.
Food items is not the only thing people are stocking up.
A big increase in, of course, as you see, the bottle gas. I mean, they're lined up down the loop. It's been that way for 3 days now.
Over at Gas and Supply, customers have been lining up to stock up on propane and bottled gas. The store says demand has tripled over the past 3 days, with sales reaching nearly 3,000 gallons per day.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be prepared, not get caught off guard.
Customers like Steven have been waiting in line for about an hour, saying the time is worth it to be ready for what may come.
You know, based off the last time, don't know what to expect, so just trying to prepare.
Experts say now is also the time to think about items that can help protect your home, including space heaters, backup power supplies, and faucet covers.
I kind of just have to tell people to think it out and kind of figure out what's specific to your home and what you're potentially going to need for the storm. It's better to be prepared, right, for something, even if it doesn't happen. So.
In Tyler, I'm Ayanna Aird for CBS 19.
And that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
Here are headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Wednesday night, parents and educators, they filled Westbrook High School to hear the TEA discuss the state's decision to take over the district. That meeting was designed to answer questions and address concerns. The agency says 2 campuses, Fell Price Elementary and King Middle School, triggered this takeover. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato has more.
As an educator, I feel that there are a lot of unknowns.
It was a packed house at Westbrook High School as hundreds gathered and dozens stepped forward to share their concerns about the future of Beaumont ISD. Among them, Sabrina Winger, who's worked for the district for more than 17 years.
We've had several partnerships come in. They were unsuccessful. What does it take? Why is it that these other districts have been successful once the state takes over? Why is it we couldn't figure it out before the state took over?
District leaders say community engagement is critical and says tonight's turnout shows families are paying attention.
That was a concern or a fear of mine that people wouldn't show up, but people are coming in, and that means a great deal because the community understands that we all have to get together and make this happen.
BISD District 1 trustee Joe Evans says while the moment is difficult, it also demands action.
This is a concerning time and we are in a crisis, make no mistake about it. So we should be concerned, but like I said, with that concern should comes a great deal of urgency, a great sense of urgency, and a reminder that we have to all step it up.
Educators like Winger, who were here during the district's last state takeover in 2014, say it brings lingering fears as to what could come next.
Last takeover, we were facing a reduction in force that at this time has not been mentioned. But like I said, we don't know what's coming. And that, I think, is our biggest fear, is the unknown.
Well, tax season officially underway and some local organizations stepping up to help. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program is offering free federal tax preparation for those who qualify. The VITA program, it's through the IRS in partnership with local organizations like Lamar University. So if you make $69,000 a year or less, you can file your taxes and get individual returns with assistance from staff. Last year, this program helped file at least 800 returns. The program's director says this tax season could be busy.
Well, this year is going to be a high refund year, as we understand it, through the IRS. And from what I see, looking at the tax laws, the beautiful tax bill for seniors especially are going to get an extra $6,000 or $12,000 for married standard deductions. So that's going to reduce their tax liability tremendously.
And you can also sign up to volunteer and take a 3-week course to become a certified tax preparer for this program. Now, this free tax prep, it starts January 31st. You're going to need a photo ID, social security card, and your W-2s. For more information, including times and locations, be sure to visit the IRS website right there on your screen. Well, this weekend, you need to protect the 4 Ps, people, pets, pipes, and plants. 12 News reporter Danielle Tabuada-Palau explains.
You want to be ready for Jack Frost. He's on his way.
Southeast Texans are bracing for the coldest temperatures of the season, with pipe-bursting weather expected soon.
Be careful, be cautious, and be prepared. Wrap those pipes.
Wise words from a Beaumont plumber with more than 50 years of experience. Henry LaRocca of LaRocca Plumbing says a little preparation now can prevent major damage later.
You can wrap it up in plastic after you put some cloth around it and tie it with rubber bands or rope, anything to help keep it from freezing.
LaRocca recommends covering outdoor pipes with store-bought insulation or using household items like towels and garbage bags. But he says, don't wait.
I feel that it's the earlier the better, because the stores are going to run out. There's not enough. There's going to run out.
And it's not just pipes that need protection. The Humane Society says pets need extra care during the cold.
If it's too cold for you, it's too cold for them.
If you fail to care for your dog, you could face legal consequences under the Texas Safe Outdoor Dog Act.
Water, wind, hail damage proof, as well as heat. So if you've got outdoor dogs with the freeze coming, make sure they've got adequate bedding, heat lamps if needed.
Measures that can also be taken with cats, whether or not they are protected under law.
It's going to be the same enclosure type for the dogs. If cats are going to need them. If you're using like space heaters, be sure that the animals aren't able to get too close. Fur catches on fire very easily.
And those were your headlines from Southeast Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. Protests erupted inside and outside City Hall during a special city council session about federal law enforcement activity across the city. Almost 200 people showed up to speak during public comment. SAPD Chief William McManus spoke to council, establishing that SAPD only works with ICE as scene and perimeter security when called out. When cooperating with ICE, McManus says SAPD is bound to the department's policies and procedures, not federal, and they focus on criminal, not administrative warrants. Bexar County Commissioner Grant Moody was the first to speak in public comment, and soon after, former Mayor Ron Nirenberg.
To public safety. And there should be zero tolerance for attacks on those who serve, whether they wear the uniform of SAPD, BCSO, the FBI, ICE, or any other federal agency.
But right now, the president's actions are eroding that trust and replacing it with fear. A fear of immigrants and a fear of each other. But immigration is...
At different times, tensions rose in council chambers. Council members took several breaks to maintain order. Changes are coming to intersections in New Braunfels. New technology will allow faster and safer routes for emergency vehicles. Simone Simpson shows us how.
Every second counts in an emergency, so new technology coming to intersections like this one will allow emergency vehicles to change a red light to a green one, allowing for a safe and quick passage through traffic.
Every time that we slow down, we also slow down our response, which can impact our citizens.
The technology is cloud-based and is underneath a fire truck, but the potential impact overhead can be life-saving.
The roadways have become one of the most dangerous places for firefighters because too many times when crossing an intersection, a distracted driver might hit an emergency vehicle.
Costing precious time. When emergency vehicles' lights are on and approach an intersection, the equipment will send a signal to the traffic light, turning it green.
Give us the green light so that we can cross safely while the red light holds everyone else in place, makes that transport to the scene or to the hospital safer.
The tech is expected to roll out to New Braunfels intersections within the next 6 months. The money comes from a $140 million 2023 bond dedicated to transportation projects.
A big part of it is citywide intersection improvements.
Gary Ford is the Director of Transportation and Construction Services.
We've been one of the fastest growing cities in the country for the last decade, so we started about 20 signals, now we're about 70 signals, and really getting this technology to our signal system is super important.
Officials hope the technology will save seconds that will save lives. The technology is available to the fire department right now, but the city is in talks with the police department to eventually implement the technology on their select vehicles in the future. I'm Simone Simpson, reporting for KENS 5.
A 2-alarm fire ripped through an Eastside apartment complex. Fire officials say it was sparked when a furnace was on. The fire started just after 11 at a complex on Pecan Valley Circle. Crews found heavy flames coming from a second-floor apartment and were spreading to the attic. According to SAFD, a maintenance crew had been inside the unit preparing it for a new tenant. Fire investigators say the furnace was turned on, which triggered an electrical short, sparking the fire. One firefighter suffered minor injuries.
I want to take the chance to remind everyone about home heating safety. Predictable is preventable. I always say it, that's the reality. Take that extra time to keep you and your family safe. If you're using a space heater, make sure it's plugged directly into the wall, not into any extension cords or surge protectors. When you leave the room, make sure you unplug that space heater. Don't just turn it off because the likelihood of it coming back on is there. Make sure it's on a hard, flat surface. Don't put it on the rug, don't put it on carpets, and keep it at least 3 to 6 feet away from anything flammable. Again, take that extra step to make sure you keep you and your family safe.
The fire department is warning residents never to use a gas stove to heat their home or apartment. It can greatly increase the risk of dangerous and potentially deadly carbon monoxide poisoning. People are scrambling to make sure their precious plants survive the upcoming deep freeze. Sue Kalberg has more on your cold weather do's and don'ts.
You see that? It says established 1939. We're at Fanix Garden Center in East San Antonio, where they're 4 generations deep in helping people love on their plants.
There's a lot of open spots in these old houses that need to be repaired again.
They're hard at work now, making sure their own green babies are well prepared. This is one plant I usually don't manage to kill at my own house.
Right now, you want to make sure that you're covering your plants. Never put plastic directly on the plants. Put some kind of cloth first, all the way to the ground. The heat's produced from the bottom up.
With dangerous cold blowing this way, they say mulch is a good idea too.
A 2 inches away, 2 feet around, and 2 inches thick.
There are don'ts. Don't let plastic covers rest on plants.
And it would do more damage than if you just left it out in the open. Don't want to water too much, but you want to water enough so that the plant can produce its heat. When in doubt, bring it in.
Big picture, winter is the perfect time to plan so you can focus on cold hardy varieties like these that will make it easier to survive the next cold snap. In East San Antonio, Sue Kelberg, KENS 5.
As frigid temperatures head to the Alamo City, San Antonio Zoo officials are working to protect animals from the cold. The zoo has invested in expanded indoor habitats, backup power, and portable heating. Teams prepare up to 96 hours in advance and will continue to monitor conditions in habitats. The zoo will share updates on their website and social media pages. And that's the news in San Antonio.
I'm Lindsay Littman. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. With icy roads ahead, first responders and tow truck operators are gearing up for what could be a busy few days. Sydney Walker has more on how they're preparing and what you need to know to stay safe.
As temperatures drop and ice moves in,
we'll be ready for whatever this weather throws at us.
Trevor Egbert and his towing company are preparing.
By getting the trucks ready and fully staffed, air tanks drained and tire chains ready.
They mostly see slip and slides.
And just kind of ran off the road.
But DPS is prepared for a high amount.
Traditionally in Bell County, when there's an ice storm, we have anywhere upwards to 200 to 300 crashes in a period of time.
Sergeant Brian Washko said they're ready for the worst.
Our troopers are going to be working out full force, 12-hour shifts.
Staying off the roads altogether is still the best option. It's the safest for us drivers, tow truck drivers, and first responders.
It causes stress, is what it causes for me as a business owner. I'm worried about our drivers just like I'm worried about the people that are on the side of the road.
Egbert said it's a big misconception that they can get out there easily.
If you are in a tricky situation or if you slid off the road, the same thing can happen to EMS personnel, first responders, tow truck drivers.
But sometimes staying home isn't a possibility.
There's many of us with jobs that require us to be out there.
Washko says wear your seatbelt, limit distractions, and leave distance between you and the car in front of you.
We don't get snow, we get this nasty black ice, and with that comes the responsibility of leaving much earlier for your destination. Driving the speed limit is going to get you in a wreck. You reduce that speed to whatever is safe.
If you do get in a wreck, call a tow truck. If you're injured, call 911. Remain in your vehicle, stay out of the roadway, and be prepared.
Cell phone. So it's charged so you can call for help. Full tank of fuel, blankets.
In Belton, Sydney Walker, 6 News.
Meanwhile, grocery stores are seeing a familiar scene, crowded aisles and empty shelves. Juliana Jackson shows us what shoppers are buying and what you need to stay safe during the freeze.
Shoppers are flooding grocery stores, loading up their carts as winter weather closes in. It's a scene Texans know all too well. Packed parking lots, long checkout lines. For shoppers like Linda, she says the frenzy is a bit of an overreaction.
People that are grabbing a lot of water, the milk is gone, the bread is pretty much gone. It's like, I don't understand. They're just being crazy.
For other shoppers like Brian, it's a different story. He remembers past winter storms that left thousands of people without power for days.
Yeah, don't freak out. There's a lot of freaking out going on, so.
Brian is stocking up for his family, grabbing everything from food to heaters.
Jambalaya makings.
Got heater. The heaters are going like crazy right now, so put one in the garage to keep the stuff in the garage. The ice maker and what is it? It's water softener prepared.
When you head to the grocery store, you want to make sure that you pick up shelf-stable items such as canned goods or peanut butter so that you and your family can still have something to eat just in case power goes out.
Shoppers are also preparing their homes.
Pipes are wrapped. We have blankets. It happens. What happens?
All shoppers have one piece of advice. Don't wait.
Easy in there. I'm glad we came today and not tomorrow. Tomorrow will be even worse, I bet.
Juliana Jackson, 6 News.
Also on standby during these dangerously cold temperatures, HVAC contractors. They're preparing for a surge in emergency calls. Experts say a few simple checks right now could help families avoid breakdowns and stay warm. That includes sealing gaps around doors and windows, checking your heating elements, and making sure carbon monoxide detectors are working, especially in homes with gas heat. Do what you can now, but if you need a professional, don't wait to call, as HVAC crews will be busy. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
I'm Mike Gillespie in Corpus Christi, and here's a quick look at some of what's happening in South Texas. Governor Abbott has mobilized statewide resources as freezing weather threatens to create dangerous conditions across the state. Now, with the colder air expected here in South Texas, preparations are underway across the coastal bend. And of course, one of the biggest concerns, the roadways. Bill Churchwell has a look at what both TxDOT and the city are planning.
TxDOT crews know the drill. Prep start right here with filling trucks with brine, a water and salt solution that can help slow and prevent freezing roadways.
Here our crew is hooking up the brine tank. That's a brine tank. It holds 20,000 gallons.
Yes, sir. Ricky Daly says their goal is simple, to keep drivers safe. If ice does form, TxDOT will then switch to what's called ice rock.
The rock right here. There's a spreader on the back that acts basically like the machine you use to fertilize your yard.
Bridges and overpasses are most likely to freeze first, which is why they're targeting those areas ahead of the approaching weather.
The developer is going to brine the harbor bridge. TxDOT will brine other structures in the immediate area. That includes the JFK, Nueces Bay Causeway, and the Nueces River Causeway.
Then onto major roadways like I-37, Highway 77, and US 281. Meantime, city leaders are also at the ready. Ernesto de la Garza says similar operations will be ongoing thanks to new de-icing machines called the Salt Dog.
They get installed in the back of a pickup truck, and so they're really quickly deployed. So that's new addition to Public Works.
Thursday, barricades will also be pre-staged just in case roads will have to be closed.
Leaving back there.
Daly says TxDOT crews will be starting 12-hour shifts Saturday in order to immediately respond. Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
Now, our Corpus Christi Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services are also ready to help out as they can. Following a notice from Governor Greg Abbott, a task force was assembled and is headed up to the Hill Country area and even into North Texas. Over 20 emergency personnel are a part of that team and say they are ready to face the cold weather and help as needed.
We're going to go up as a crew, make sure that we don't leave anybody behind, and know that that weather is probably starting tomorrow evening going to get really bad. So going up today, get to our location, prepared to respond.
And officials are also sending a warning to anyone planning to travel in that area. If you don't have to be on the road, well, it's much better not to be during the wintry conditions. Well, hundreds of job seekers and students turned out in Corpus Christi for the 3rd annual Maritime Career Expo and Job Fair. That event held at the Solomon P. Ortiz International Center and brought together about 30 maritime companies offering entry-level and advanced career opportunities. Organizers say the expo typically attracts around 250 job seekers and helps connect Coastal Bend residents with long-term jobs in the maritime industry.
We learned a few years ago that we really need a local workforce here. And when we looked at the career fairs and job fairs that happen in the Coastal Bend, there wasn't anything that was really geared toward the maritime community. Reach out to the students, get them familiar with what maritime means, what a career on the water or near the water means.
Workforce leaders say that similar job fairs are held throughout the year across our area. And that is a quick look at some of what's happening right here in South Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.